Okay, welcome to episode 112 of Random Thoughts.
Yeah.
This is taking me, this is kind of a trip down memory lane of last time I was sitting close to you while you were sweating a lot.
Yeah, and very timely as well with the intern interviews for next semester going on as we speak. It is warm here in Melbourne today.
It's great.
And this office, you get all the morning sun and just runs up the driveway into all our glass panels and turns this into not a little, but a good-sized sauna.
A good-sized greenhouse. It's great. So I thought today we could talk about how to be a pro at travel, how to nail flying international flights, how to
time zones, things like that.
How to be really good at arriving and being good to go. Being safe and also being effective as an athlete, like having
we have a lot of athletes at the moment heading over, particularly to the States for sporting tours and also just holidays in general with their families or with teams and things like that. So
so I think it's probably a good time.
Bit of a handbook.
Yeah. So I think the first thing to understand is that the first thing to address is the time zone thing. Our body has natural rhythms, circadian rhythms. Yeah. And in fact, it's not just, and I think until a few years ago, I had the idea that it was just like kind of one body clock. But there's actually a myriad of clocks within clocks. So like your liver has a clock.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more. I didn't know about this one.
Yeah. So there's a central clock that it's regulated by light.
Which is effectively a melatonin cortisol cycle.
It's kind of the master clock. And so that's simply your, I can't remember which gland, but it was one of the glands in the back of the brain, responds to the blue light frequency from the sky, and that tells your body it is daytime.
Be awake.
Do
things.
And then there's all minor ones as well. And so, for instance, when you start eating, that's like the clock on your liver, on your, gluconeogenesis, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
That actually kicks off.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So having breakfast therefore is an important part of getting that clock to run with your body clock, and then eating. This is a thing I'm still getting right now. I've been here for 5 years now, but still getting right. When we finish at 8, having dinner and then getting to bed on time.
Yeah.
But not having that full belly and not having digested enough of my meal before I go to bed, which still I'll notice if I eat after 9 really disrupts my early part of my sleep. Yeah.
And so as a consequence, because of those various clocks, you will secrete different hormones at different times. So the obvious one is that when it's time to wake up, your body will elevate your cortisol and adrenaline. And they're the time to drag you out of sleep, wake up, and your body just does that habitually. And I think it responds, it's interesting, it gets into rhythms, but also it responds to your requests. So last night I knew I had to do a bunch of stuff today, and I said I will get up tomorrow at 6. And I did not set an alarm, and I woke up, I turned, and it was 6:00.
Yeah, spot on. Body just knows, doesn't it? Like school kids, you wake up at 7:30, get to school at 9. Even on weekends, a lot don't, but some students will still wake up at 7:30, 7:40.
Body just knows. Yeah. I've moved away from setting an alarm. My view is that if I've had, because with young kids, sometimes you can have a bad night's sleep. I will have times I will tell myself I want to get up, but I'm actually not unless it's a really mission critical where I'm worried.
A meeting where you have to be on time.
Where I'm going to stress that I'm not going to wake up on time. But in general, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And it works really well because every now and then my body will actually sleep in for half an hour. And I'm like, I probably need to do it.
So time zones, let's get back to...
Yeah, so what I wanted to touch on though was what's interesting is that the various body clocks you have actually influence other processes that are going on. So for instance, ghrelin, which is a hormone.
Hunger hormone?
Yeah. And so that's going to influence that as well. So there's going to be a knock-on effect there where you might arrive in a different time zone. And so it's not just that your central body clock is out because it thinks night's day and day is night. It's also that you're going to be hungry at the wrong time, and it's a whole sort of cocktail of things that are out of whack.
Yeah, so while our phones, we might automatically change back to the new time zone as we move, our body is still going, well, yeah, but according to my hormones and according to digestion and growth rates and everything inside my body, it's only been 3 hours, not 16 hours or not negative 10 hours. And so the body then has to work out the difference between, well, there's no blue light going on, but I'm wide awake because my cortisol's up and my melatonin's low and all these things and all this interplay. And then you've got hunger, things like that as well going on.
But there's a whole bunch going on. The cool thing is you can manipulate it. I think there's a number of things you can do to, because what you want is, in a perfect world, you arrive at the new destination, you snap your fingers, and your body's like, bang, like you changed your watch, your body clock's changed. You can't do that. But what most people do is they meander around for 2 to 3 days attempting to adjust. It takes them a long time.
Yeah, and they sort of play victim to times. Like, oh, it's jet lag. I can't do anything. I just got to wait.
And there's a lot you can do to accelerate your acclimatization process. So number one is, let's just say we've flown from Melbourne to LA. So we've just arrived in LA.
Nice topical example.
Yep. You've arrived there. The very first thing is as much time as possible spent outdoors without sunglasses on.
Actually get some blue light into your eyes.
As many, I don't know what a unit of blue light is. Maybe it's lumens.
Lumens, I think they count then. Yeah.
As many lumens into your eyeballs, because that's probably the big rock, I think. I think, and to do that, the best way is to walk around a lot. So you're going to get exercise to make you a bit tired.
Exercise is also important too, because that's going to burn some energy and get you feeling good and get some endorphins up.
So I would schedule some sightseeing where I'm having to walk. I would also, I was talking to my friend Diego Artuso, who's a genius osteo and just a very thoughtful guy. And he said something this morning, said he always has this real urge to get a swim in. He gets off the plane and he just wants to swim.
Right.
And I agree. Like, I find it, because you want to feel refreshed. And as an osteo, his point of view was, well, you've been locked up in this high pressure canister, locked into a seat.
Which is, I suppose, the next topic we'll get to once we sort of move on here is the air pressure.
Yeah. So his point is that the pool's great. So if you can combine the two, so the ideal scenario,
get down to the beach.
But don't lie. Like, you got to go to the beach, but you can't lie in the towel too much.
Yeah, go swimming at the beach. Exactly. Yeah. So that's if you land during the day.
Yeah. So maximize the blue light, maximize your activity, and try and push through that fatigue. Like, you'll get to like 3 o'clock in the arvo, and you desperately want to have a nap.
Fight it.
You just got to fight that so hard.
Yeah. So you want to try and, even if it kills that first day, make your sleeping rhythm move to the new position as quickly as possible.
Yep.
So if you land at 10 a.m. but your body thinks it's midnight, get through till 10 p.m. that night before you go to bed. You'll sleep better because you'll be exhausted from such a long time up. I get the blue light in, and then you can hit that second day running.
Yeah,
beautiful.
You'll be really good. So maximize that exposure, and then in that evening, what you also want to do is you want to put your phone into night mode, so you're not having any blue light come through it. Avoid watching telly, all the usual sleep rules. Avoid any devices that have blue light. Read some fiction on an actual book if you can, and have a bit of magnesium, and then get a good night's sleep.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm going to get you a tissue because I'm finding it distracting, worrying about you dehydrating.
I'm a little bit sweaty, aren't I? It's very warm in this room, and I ran this morning too, so that's not helping.
You were bragging the other week about how your sweat was improved since your sauna.
I still sweat a lot. Like, I'm not too uncomfortable. It's just very sweaty.
Anyway, so that's what I would do once you've arrived in the day and you want to acclimatize. Then the other thing that you can do the very next morning, you can buy blue light devices. You can buy glasses that actually project. There's reading glasses that have a little blue light projector, so you can like get up and get the blue light straight into your eyeballs. I'm not saying people should do that.
That might be a bit of a step too far.
I'm just saying that's if I was
people have thought of this. Yeah.
I reckon if you were a pro tennis player, you would totally do that, because it's
constant
traveling, and it's a money thing. Like, you're going to spend $300 to potentially win
20% more games. Who knows?
Yeah. So that's
jet lag, I suppose.
That's jet lag.
Should we talk about actually in the plane and what's going on from a dehydration and a postural point of view and all that sort of stuff?
Because working our way backwards, you want to step off the plane. If you don't do anything, you will step off the plane and have circadian rhythm-based jet lag problems.
You'd be out of sync.
You'll have locked up hip flexors. You'll have really tight calves.
Tight back as well.
Tight back, thoracic in particular. You'll be dehydrated. And
because all that air conditioning on the plane just sucks the water out of you, sucks the moisture out of your skin.
You feel like rubbish,
and you'll have furry teeth too, as well as my most hated part of a plane.
Horrible. Yeah. So you want to step off that plane as fresh as is humanly possible. So if we take it back to step, okay, what can you do to get through that journey and not tighten up? Number one, it's not very high tech. Get up out of your chair more. It amazes me how little people do that.
They just sit and watch movies or try and nap the whole way through.
Yeah.
16 hours of sitting. Yeah. That's a long time.
The thing is, it doesn't take much. It doesn't need to be 16 for it to be problematic. So last season, I went away twice in 3 weeks with the Boomers to Townsville.
Yep. Yeah. The final series.
And it was a day of travel because the WNBL is cheap, and so you had to catch a flight to Sydney, then another flight, and it was the whole thing. But I was really tired the next day, and I was really stiff, and I was getting up out of the chair reasonably often. It's a really big deal. Just get up out of the chair, go stand near the toilets, do a standing hip flexor stretch, move your back a little bit, just introducing some basic movement into the equation is probably the biggest thing.
Now, you don't want to be an absolute pain to everyone else on the plane. So what do you think is an appropriate ratio that balances both your own postural health and also the annoyance,
not being a jerk,
and not getting kicked off or not getting in trouble with the flight attendant?
I've noticed that you can get up about once every 90 minutes and no one's too fussed. I think that probably somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes. If you're getting up every half an hour, people are going to be like, please.
Come on, dude. Yeah. But and only like 1 to 2 minutes at a time. Walk to the back, go to the bathroom, pretend to go to the bathroom, whatever you need to do.
Yeah, just get a little bit of movement into the body. And what you're also doing there is you're offsetting the risk of deep vein thrombosis, which is a legitimate health risk of flying, where a blood clot forms in your calf muscle because of lack of movement. And that's
why compression garments are also good on planes.
So there's such a big deal because they're pushing that blood back up, because the blood will just pool. And if you've ever, the best thing you can do is wear compression garments that don't go all the way down.
Don't cover your feet. Yeah.
and your feet look hilarious afterwards.
Like balloons, little fat, pudgy little balloons. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I would get around and move. So that would be the number one thing.
I'd wear compression, would be number two.
And I think hydration is really important. Now, your options are you can drink straight water. The problem with that is it kind of passes through you a lot. So you end up you don't want to be feeling like you've always got to go to the toilet. So the straight water approach is not ideal.
Definitely better than
nothing.
Better than being dehydrated. Yep.
Much better than caffeinated or alcoholic drinks. So many people like having caffeine and alcohol on the plane. I'm like, what are you doing?
So they're both diuretics and dehydrators. So they will dehydrate your body and they'll push more water out of your system than they keep in.
Yeah, crazy. I think the next best option is water with a bit of salt, just a small amount, because that's the big rock. Yeah. No pun intended. That's a big rock. Is just a bit of sodium in that electrolyte drink. Like that's the most important active ingredient, really. I think.
So when they pass around the mixed nuts, ask for 2 glasses of water and eat those nuts if you're not allergic, of course. To get the salts from there and then to get the water in, because that salt will help your body absorb more of the water.
And if you are allergic to the nuts, just ask for a salt sachet and just put a tiny bit of it into your water and give it a shake around. And actually, it sounds like you want us to drink salty seawater. Just a little pinch of it. It's quite nice.
We're talking like a quarter of a teaspoon here, like just a trickle. Yeah.
Just a tiny bit. The next step up from that then is a electrolyte drink. So we're big fans of the Shots brand.
You are. I'm a big fan of Boost personally.
Yeah, okay. They're really, really helpful. All those ones, the ones that are giving it without any sugar.
Yeah, that's the big downside of Boost, which is why Shots actually are better. I have to admit, it's just the Boost is so delicious, and I don't drink any soft drinks. So that's kind of my little reward twice a week.
Because Boost tastes like a fizzy Tang.
It's like Fanta. No, I don't remember Tang. I'm not that old. But it tastes just like Fanta, but nowhere near as sweet, and so it's perfect. Shots is going to be much better. No glucose, no sugars, and you get not just sodium, but you're also getting potassium, and I think a bit of magnesium and a few others in there as well.
Those guys have really thought it through. You can even buy a sweat rate test from them as well.
Really?
Yeah, interesting.
I have to get one of those.
And for our people, we're going to start stocking them pretty soon. We got put onto them by a nutritionist, Dr Dom Condo. She uses them with Geelong Footy Club, and we use them with the Melbourne Boomers. And I'm a big wrap.
And you can easily, they come in little tubes in little effervescent tablets, and you can just fit them in your bag.
It's so easy.
Take them along, and then ask for a couple of waters. Crack your effervescent in 2. Put half in each of the little cups, because they only give you small amounts of water.
Because you want 1 tab per 500 ml.
Yeah, and so little glasses, half in each, and then sip away on those.
They're just
hour or so.
And I should talk about what I'd heard of the idea. I'd understood the concept that straight water doesn't take advantage of osmosis very well, and it just kind of can pass through you a bit more than you'd actually like.
Osmosis is the idea that elements like sodium and things like that will pass to areas of least where there's less of them, so they diffuse across. So, for example, when you drop your effervescent tablet in the water, it osmoses
By a process of osmosis.
It dissolves into the water, and so spreads itself out evenly. And so that same thing happens inside our body with water and with salt.
Yeah. And so I knew that. I was aware of it. But it wasn't until I tried the shots. And what I noticed was I had quite a bit, because I had it when we were going up to Queensland. It was hot and sweaty. And I expected, oh, God, I'm going to have to go to the toilet heaps. And I just didn't. I was like, wow, that's all being absorbed into my body.
Into your muscles, yeah.
Yeah, it was really good.
That's awesome.
So you do that pretty consistently. You don't want to you still want to have some water. You don't want to be just all electrolyte drinks the whole way, because that would be expensive and you'd probably get sick of them. But probably like every...
And also there's a point where you just start weaning that salt out. If you overdo it, it just becomes expensive whey.
Yeah. But probably I'd reckon maybe every second, maybe I'd go bottle like a 500 ml of water and then alternate that with 500 ml of
If you're in a high sweat rate place, or you're playing a lot of sport and a lot of training, or you're just going on big long haul flights, and so you need to make sure you land in tip-top shape, that'd be the way to go. 50-50.
And it really does make a big difference. It's so important keeping, not just because we think of hydration as, like avoiding that kind of headachy feeling where, you feel your head rattling around in your brain, where you feel like your brain's actually shrunk a bit and there's room for it to rattle. Do you get that?
I think I know what you mean. I don't think I get it very often, but I understand the concept, yeah.
So you think of it in those terms, but I think also it's like maintaining the hydration of your tendons, like just keeping the whole musculoskeletal system well hydrated. It's not just, we just think of skin and a sore head as dehydration symptoms. So you do that. So we've got movement, compression, electrolyte, replenishment, fluids. And then let's talk about eating.
Nutrition on the plane. Okay.
So I think that you've just always got to take some of your own food just in case you hate what you get given. And I'm not saying like pack a Tupperware like a loon. Like I'm just
you don't
saying,
have to go that far.
Just pack some muesli bars,
protein bar,
just to have a bit of a plan B in case you get really hungry. Because you don't want to arrive tired and glycogen depleted and.
I would avoid fruit from a customs point of view.
Yeah.
Fruit and veg is not on, and probably like chicken breasts and things like that aren't great either.
No.
But this is the one place where I would strongly recommend a protein bar and a muesli bar, because they're transportable, they're sealed, they're sterilized because they come from a factory and everything like that. And you're going to have no trouble getting a couple of those through customs. So I don't really have any brands to recommend, particularly just to see which ones taste good, because some protein bars do taste like cardboard. Yeah, that is a downside.
That's a thing. Yeah, and I think that those are your main things.
Yeah, 'cause it's all about landing and getting through that jet lag and that fatigue of the first day or two, or accelerating that process and getting through that as quickly as possible, and then also that'll have a knock-on effect of mitigating and reducing injury risk.
Yeah,
and maximizing performance at the same time. So it's a win-win.
So you've done that well, and you've arrived, you've done your circadian rhythm thing. I think then what's really important is recognizing that you are, in a neural sense, really tired, that you're a little unco.
Yeah.
Can I tell, you're a little out of sorts, even though you might know it.
Yeah. Yeah. You just I think you were just about to say, Durham, that you were going to tell a story. Can you tell that story? That's what you're looking for?
Yeah. Thanks. So the longest flight I've ever done was a 40-hour door-to-door flight from Melbourne to St. Petersburg in Russia.
Did you go around twice? Did you? You have to come back and forget something?
Literally, from the moment I left the house to the moment we hit the hotel room was 40 hours.
40 stopwatched hours of commute time. It's a big commute.
It was ridiculous. Because we had to go Melbourne to Singapore, Singapore to Moscow, Moscow to St. Petersburg. And it was a long time. It was a stressful time. We flew Aeroflot, which at that point, you've not heard of Aeroflot?
Aero what?
Aeroflot.
Aero
FLOT. Google them. At that point in time, they were the most dangerous airline in the history of the world.
It's now Air Korea now, isn't it?
I don't think so. It's a Russian airline.
Still Aeroflot?
Aeroflot.
Aeroflot. They're still the winners?
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I think Korea might have overtaken them.
Yeah.
But at that point anyway, so a bit of a segue, but we stepped onto the plane, and you know when you're repairing an old car, you see that that kind of matte finish, that primer paint.
Yep.
There was they hadn't
primed it.
They hadn't covered it with the top paint. The toilet seat, I'm not making this up. The toilet seat was unvarnished, made of wood, and it looked like I made it in woodwork class. Like I'm not very handy. It was a pretty stressful experience because it was just the whole. It was good fun. Like I don't want to sound like I'm windy. It was good fun. But we arrived there, and
but at the same time, had this story ended with me telling her, and that was the tragic day we lost Darren. No one would be surprised.
So it was a long flight, and we arrived there, and we had to play games pretty rapidly. And I think we had one day, and then we had to play a game the next day.
This is under 21 Worlds?
This was seniors. We'd won the WNBL championship.
It was with Daniel.
Right. And it used to be that every country, the winner of the championship would go and they'd play off in like a UEFA Cup type scenario.
Yeah, just like soccer. Yeah. Cool.
Except Australia would send the winners, and everyone else would send their all-star team. So it was tough going. But anyway, we were low on numbers, and I had to join in a training, which was I was a younger, fitter, faster man then.
And this is a couple of days in.
Yeah,
after the trip.
And what I'll never forget is that I'm doing some sort of 3-on-3 weave or some passing and running thing. And
sounds like fun.
And I'm perfectly competent at catching and passing. I can do that. But what was interesting is my timing. The ball was coming. I mean, it was like it was just a two-dimensional disc. My depth perception, like I really had to concentrate on just balls coming, catch it.
It's like you're playing on a glitch computer that was sort of out of time with your controls.
Yeah. And what I felt, and it was subtle, but I felt very subtly as though the ground was billowing under me a little bit.
Like like running on a waterbed or something, or a jump castle.
Like you've spliced 5% of a waterbed's characteristics into a normal timber floor.
It's just a tiny bit movie.
Just a little off.
Yeah.
And so that's the effect that you can have. And so just adjusting for that and knowing, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't push too hard at my training. That first run around, which should, in a perfect world, that first run around should be absolutely 48 hours. You step off the plane and you should not play within 48 hours. But that's not always possible. Sometimes the schedule will just force you to have to go quicker. But just know that you want to, as much as possible, allow for the fact that you will be a bit unco.
Yeah, because travel, and it's hidden. Not everyone knows about this because travel itself is quite stressful and quite tiring. But as soon as it finishes, because it's finished, you feel so relieved to not be on a plane anymore that you don't recognize that fatigue will hang around.
Yeah.
And so you'll get off the plane and say, oh, thank God I can open up my hips. But that neurological stress and the dehydration and the circadian rhythm problem, all these things accumulate into making you just a slightly less powerful, slightly less explosive, slightly less coordinated version of yourself. And so being aware of that in that first 48 hours is really critical.
And some people find it really like you made a really good point that I'd forgotten about too, is it's not just the kind of the workload of travel, which what we've talked about.
The physiology of it. Yeah.
But there's also the psychological stress of it. And some people, we're all different in terms of how some people find plane flights themselves quite stressful. Some people just find travel quite stressful. In our family, the running joke, it's so funny. My wife gets bomb tested like every time we go anywhere.
They've really been ramping that up. I've been bomb tested because I've been overseas twice this year.
Yeah.
I think 3 of the 4 flights I got bomb tested.
Really?
2 of them.
And
a fair few.
And did you ask him why?
No, I just did it.
So Kate, and because what they're looking for, what they're trained to look for, is they're looking for people that look like they're stressed because if you're going to bomb a flight or something,
then you're probably going to be pretty stressed, I imagine.
And with you, probably they just saw your sweat rate.
No, this is air conditioned. Air conditioned. Airports. I do not sweat at all. But maybe coming back from Bali.
Like, he looks a bit sweaty. Let's test him. With Kate, it was really funny. And she says, "Why does everyone test it?" And the guy's like, "Well, you're just such a pretty young lady." And she's like, "Oh."
Instantly disarmed her.
But anyway, yeah, it is stressful for some people get more stressed than others. So there's all those factors. So you just want to take them into account and don't push the envelope so much in the first couple of days. Push the envelope on rolling, stretching, hydration, food,
walking
going
around,
for a swim,
touristing,
staying awake during the day. Push the envelope on all those things. But really important that in terms of you turning the dial up gradually, I suppose,
on your hard training and your hard competition.
Yeah. And
great. A lot of those rules would also apply to bus trips.
Yeah.
So the time difference isn't the same, but hot, stuffy compartment, tight hips, mild, autonomic stress and all those things are going to accumulate inside your body as well.
So for our athletes heading up on a bus from Melbourne to Sydney for the ECC
in January,
challenge in January, that's pretty relevant, isn't it? Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, because you tend to just think of it as a plane thing.
It's like it's a plane thing or it doesn't count. It's like, no, there's a grey scale there.
Yeah, there definitely is. Yeah. And the other thing, I suppose, so you've arrived and you've done all the things we've talked about already, is getting as many good foods into your system as well.
Yeah.
Like I am always really hungry for, I really want lots of fruit when I arrive. Yeah. I've always got a real fruit craving. And just got lots of good veggies and
salads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Lean proteins, whole grains.
Just good stuff. Yeah. And plenty of it. Yeah.
Awesome.
I think those are the big tips. I think if you do those things, you're getting pretty well placed, aren't you?
Yeah. And the good thing about all those tips, it's taken us 27 minutes or 28 minutes to get through all that stuff, is it's actually, they're all pretty easy things. Like putting on compression skins as you get on the plane is not a tricky thing to do.
No, it's easy.
Getting up every 90 minutes, that's like you watch a movie, you get up. You watch a movie, you get up on the plane. It's pretty easy stuff. It's not like it's high-end stuff you have to start implementing or, flying business class and things like that. You can do this immediately. It's all actionable stuff pretty straight away.
Do you know the last thing that's occurred to me though is that in an ideal world, particularly if you're in LA, because it's like there's gyms on every corner. If you're in an ideal world, getting into a gym and doing something so we've got our adaptive motion cross training thing. Doing 20 minutes of that to actually get a non-impact activity. The beautiful thing about our pre-core one, which is why we chose it, it's like running on air. So you're getting that.
This isn't the curved treadmill. This is a different thing.
Yeah.
Just so no one's confused.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot of different brands now that have a more running like motion type orbital trainer.
In a cross trainer
type thing. Getting that non-impact, but actually working those running muscles to loosen them off. I think that's really
and getting a bit of sweat on too.
Yeah. Yeah. So do that, and then you are good to go.
Yeah. Enjoy your trips, everyone. We're always very jealous come December.
Yeah.
I'm off to Hawaii. I'm going to LA. We're off to Texas, Canada,
Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Jealous.
All of you. Very, very lucky kids.
All right. Enjoy. And show notes.
The sleep stuff, the nutrition stuff, and last week's. This is very much a part 2 from last week.
Yeah, it ties in
as well.
What have we done on meditation stuff?
Mindfulness. No, we need to do a mindfulness meditation type thing.
We'll do a thing on that soon as well. Yeah. Okay.
Watch this space.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, guys. See ya.